If you are considering moving your main site to Higher Logic, it's probably a no-brainer for most organizations. Here are the main benefits you're getting if you have microsites licensed in Higher Logic. Once you have microsites enabled in Higher Logic, you can create as many websites as you want, and you can get rid of your other hosting for maybe you have a WordPress site. You can finally consolidate everything into a single, fully hosted by Higher Logic web presence. With microsites, with a few clicks, you can set up a brand new website, which is especially handy if you need to, maybe you're doing a redesign of one of your sites. Simply create a new site or duplicate an existing one, duplicate your theme. All of a sudden you have a dev environment that you can play around with, do a whole redesign. Then when the time is ready, you can simply flip that one live and you can have all your domain names associated with your microsites. Super easy to set up, develop, and deploy websites. And now all your data is in one place. This is good. So you've got your marketing content and your Higher Logic community, all that content, it's all into one place. So you can set up landing pages combining marketing content with actual content from your community. The only caveat there is typical setup of a Higher Logic site, all or most of the community content is actually locked down to only be seen by logged in users. There are ways to open up some of that content. It takes a little extra setup, and you'll probably want to let all your users know that some content may be publicly accessible, could end up in search engines. You'll probably want to put that information in your terms and conditions if you are going to open up some or most of your content. Now, let's take a look at how the systems are different. I'm going to be comparing WordPress to Higher Logic, and then we'll talk about some considerations when you're migrating. Probably the biggest difference that not everyone realizes, WordPress is open source software, endlessly extensible because you have access to the PHP. Higher Logic uses Microsoft.NET, but it is closed source software. You do not have access to the source. Higher Logic put every little bell and whistle into it, packaged it up, but it's kind of a closed box. The Higher Logic does have a document talking about some of the extensibility that I'll link to where you see this video. And it comes packed with everything that you need to run your community and basic CMS functionality, but you don't have access to the source. So if you thought you were going to bring in a developer, a Microsoft.NET developer, to change some of the functionality, add some of the functionality, you're not going to be doing that. You're basically limited to some look and feel changes, adding your branding, colors, fonts. You can do all that. You can make custom layouts if you have experience with CSS, and also using the page designer in Higher Logic gives you a lot of layout options to create custom pages. But the actual development is kind of locked in place, and you don't have access to that underlying source code. So, like I said, you're limited to kind of the look and feel, layout changes, and JavaScript. You can add as much JavaScript as you want in Higher Logic through the page designer or your site-wide settings in Higher Logic. Now let's take a look at some considerations if you are migrating from WordPress to Higher Logic. In WordPress, take inventory of all your active plugins. go to that plugins tab. You may have some plugins that are activated that you're not even using. Just make note, maybe ask your web person, what plugins are we actually using, and what's it going to take to find an alternative. Maybe there's a JavaScript alternative to these that we can use in HireLogic. Likewise, if you have a lot of custom PHP code, you're going to have to figure out, is this stuff that's already available in HireLogic? Are we going to have to figure out a way to migrate or recreate whatever that code was doing? You cannot use PHP code in HireLogic. Like I said, it's based on Microsoft.NET, but really doesn't matter. You don't have access to that underlying .NET framework. Last main thing are your custom layouts. Now, in WordPress, if you go to a certain page, you can select a page layout. If you have a template set up, you can select that template for that particular page. HireLogic is different. Every page, you have to go in and arrange it using the page designer. You can still kind of save templates in a way. If you have a page you like, you can duplicate it, copy it into, you can make a folder called templates, and then you can start from that template when you're making a new page. In summary, HireLogic gives you a much needed functionality with the CMS page creation ability. I was using another platform, community platform, because they have a free trial. It's called Discourse. I was doing a little bit of theming, and then I thought I'm going to make a new page called About My Community, and there is no page creation function. So this is the need that HireLogic is fulfilling for us. However, it makes it easy for a community manager to make new pages. But if you're doing some heavy custom theme development, or using some programming in your WordPress theme, or using WordPress plugins, some of that functionality you might be missing once you migrate to HireLogic.